Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone
Hello.
had a lovely weekend and welcome to our latest webinar. Today, we're going to be running through the best of HubSpot Spring Spotlight 2025. So all of the latest product updates and how you can use them in your business. So before I get started, just a couple of quick intros from our side. So my name's Katie and I'm a senior HubSpot consultant here at BBD Boom. So I work with our clients on quite strategic projects, so mapping out their user journeys and their processes, working out how we can translate those into HubSpot in the most effective way. And then I'm also quite heavily involved in training as well once we've done the initial implementation. So sort of work across the whole journey. And today I am joined by Clorinda. And Clorinda, you've got a very similar role, but I'll let you introduce
Yes.
yourself.
Hello, my name is Clorinda. I've been at Boom for about 3 years now, and I have the exact same role as Katie, so I do exactly what she said she does. And yeah, I mean, the goal is basically to make sure my clients use HubSpot in the best way possible.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corinda. So just to quickly go over today's agenda, so we're going to be running through the Marketing Hub Spotlight first of all. So Clarinda's going to be taking us through some of the updates there. We're then going to go into some of the Breeze agents and a couple of the biggest updates from that. Clarinda's going to talk us through the Workspaces Spotlight and what has happened there. And then we're also going to just talk through a couple of the updates to Breeze Intelligence, which you may already have been using, but there's just been a couple of changes there to make things more efficient for you. And then we will also have chance to ask questions and go through anything at the end as well. But over to you, Corinda. You're going to be talking us
Thank you.
through some of the Marketing Hub spotlights.
Yes,
Tell
thank
us
you.
a little bit about the multi-hub account management.
Sounds good. So yeah, this is one of three that we'll cover with the Marketing Hub Spotlight. The first one is the multi-account management, which I think only showed up like a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not wrong, maybe a little bit longer, but it's quite cool. So if you have enterprise and you've worked with quite a big organization, you might be quite familiar with the business units that they've been having for a couple of years now. Maybe a bit longer, don't know. But the business units allow you to kind of manage multiple brands in a single portal and be able to share the CRM data across the different brands, but also be able to apply multiple branding and marketing strategies. Now, there are lots of other companies that would have loved to have a similar setup, but they cannot because of things like legal, data separation reasons, policies, competitive reasons. And so they have to have their portal set up in like separate HubSpot portals, basically. But the con of that is obviously you're not able to easily share your data across different portals. So because of that, HubSpot's now introduced this really cool feature called multi-account management, where you can still have your data sit in different portals, but now be able to share various types of data across different portals, and you have some control over what that data specifically is that can get synced across as well. So as you can see in the slide here, there's three key features. First of all, you get to organize your data and decide how they connect. You've got data mirroring, which I'll talk about a bit more in detail, and you can also do asset copying. So with the account management, basically at the moment you can connect up to 5 different accounts. From what I understand, you can do a parent account and then have a bunch of child accounts along with that as well. So you have like a master account and then a bunch of different ones. And then in terms of the data mirroring, you can actually control the direction of the data sync. So if you only want like the parent data to see all the child data, for example, you can do that. And what that allows you to do is, let's say you go into a contact record and you want to see the engagement history of sales reps from other portals in this portal, you can actually click like multi-account data and it opens up like a little pop-up box where you can see additional engagement. So if your sales reps just need visibility of all the conversations happening under the whole company, they can now easily see without having to log into multiple portals, which they probably can't do already because they don't have access to it. So it's really powerful that way. The other cool thing you can do with this now is you can do asset copying. So rather than having to replicate like the asset over and over again in multiple portals, like your forms could be a really good example, you can now just create it once and then just deploy it to the other portals as well. So the asset copying, sorry, currently you're allowed to create them from forms, lists, and automated marketing emails only. But to my knowledge, this is constantly expanding. So they will grow the types of assets that you can recreate. But currently, it's just those three at the moment. So yeah, I'd recommend looking into it. You can see in that screenshot there anyway. It's currently in beta, and you can find it under the organization management. And I'm assuming because they've given it a category, you can probably eventually assume that they will expand that a bit more as well. So it'd be interesting to see how much more control we get over managing multiple portals, which is, I know, a huge win for a lot of companies.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really good for companies that do a lot of cross-sell as well, and they potentially don't have visibility of what other brands, other portals have sold, so they can't
Yes.
bring that context into their conversation. So I think this one is going to be really cool for those customers.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, the second one we have is AI lookalike lists. So I think most of you, if you're in marketing, you'd be quite familiar with the word lookalike, especially if you run ads, because that's what these ad platforms use to create audiences that look like the ones that are most engaged in your campaigns. So HubSpot's basically created something really similar for their list tool, and they also take advantage of Breeze, which is their AI brand name, to help you create these lists as well. So it helps you to analyze the existing customer list and then creates new versions of those lists based on the data you have in your CRM. So it doesn't create new records for you. It just looks for existing records that match your lookalike audience. Um, so there's some examples of the UI of it in the slide over there, but in terms of the purpose of it, HubSpot has said you can use it for campaign building, syncing audiences to ads, which would be a really good one. You can use it to pass leads, like qualified leads, over to your sales teams, and then you can look for basically records that are more likely to engage, convert, and stick around just based on their similar traits to other records that are already demonstrating those abilities. So in terms of the list building process, the way it works is basically you would just go to the list tool, build a new list, and you can see in the slide there's a new one called lookalikes there. So if you click on that, the first thing they'll ask you to do is choose a seed list. So it's basically any list that exists in your portal. So what HubSpot would, or what we would also recommend is to pick a list that has like your best customers, your most engaged contacts, maybe repeat buyers, because basically those are more likely to be people that you want to work with in the future. Once you've done that, you can then also choose the target size of the list. So whatever size you like, you can pick that. And you also have exclusion options. So if you want to, for example, exclude your existing customers in those lookalike list, you can do that. You can also choose to include the original seed list members in the list if you want. So those are your options in terms of the process of building the list. And then when you're done, it will basically generate a static list for you, not an active list. So that's a good one to know as well. And then, of course, once that list is created, you can then add it to like your ad audiences. You can put it in a workflow. You can do whatever you want with it, like any other list, really.
Yeah, this is a really cool one,
Yeah,
especially because LinkedIn, obviously, it's quite a timely update with LinkedIn removing the lookalike audience functionality, because you could essentially use
that's
this
true.
tool and create an ad audience from it and then sync it to LinkedIn that way. So it's quite a timely update. I like this one.
Yeah. The other thing that I also probably should mention, it is in private beta at the moment. So if you want to opt into it, you have to request HubSpot to approve the beta. And also in terms of the Breeze function, because it uses Breeze to like look for the right data, it doesn't say anything about having to purchase credits to be able to create this list. So my assumption is that you don't need it, but it also didn't explicitly say it's like part of the free Breeze tool set. So just keep that in mind. But I think hopefully it is free. Okay, the other one is journey automation. So this one's been out there for a while, but I think they've improved it over time. It's quite a useful tool for marketing, but it does take a bit of time to get wrap your head around, which it did for me as well. As you can see in the picture, it's a bit like a workflow, but it doesn't exactly function like a workflow. If you're familiar with working with like a HubSpot partner like us, someone that does like user journey mapping, for example, it kind of works in that way where you can actually basically say, right. My user journey is this is a new customer. This is when I know that they are, they've got some intent. This is when I know that they're in nurturing. This is when they're qualified. You can actually use your journeys here to kind of identify those stages and then automate things off those stages. Um, so there's a couple of features that are listed in the slide, but what I thought might be better is I could show you an example of how it looks. But I think what could be really useful for this tool is like if you're running a specific campaign and you want to track like the user journey progress of those leads before they convert into an opportunity, this could be a really good way to do it, or even across the entire life cycle stage. So I'm going to take over this screen temporarily and I'll just show you what I've got. It is very basic at the moment, and I am still really, to be honest, wrapping my head around it, but I do think it's quite interesting and it could be quite good in the future for a few different use cases. I think that's the right one there. Okay, here we go. So your journeys tool can be found in the marketing section of the new navigation menu, which I know was updated just a couple days ago. But it looks like a workflow as you can see, but basically the way it works is these cards in here basically represent, at the moment, I believe it can either be a journey stage, which is a new HubSpot standard property, or lifecycle stages, which most of you should already know what that is, hopefully. But if I click into one of these cards, basically I can control what happens with that stage. So for example, in this first step here, I want to say, right, if they've got a journey stage of new contact, and I'm sure you can automate that with workflows to assign like when they're a new contact and so on, I want them to then follow the following actions. And then if they fulfill a certain criteria, I then upgrade them to the next journey stage. But like I said, it doesn't have to be journey stage, it can be lifecycle stage as well. That is your other option. You can also, with each journey, use a specific list of contacts to enroll in that journey. So, for example, if you're running a very specific campaign, like a LinkedIn ad that goes to a landing page for a specific lead magnet that you're offering, you can put all of those contacts that interacted with the ad or submitted a specific form into that list, and only those contacts will enroll in the journey. But within that stage, you can say, right, if the journey stage of this contact is new contact, I want them to then either you can send them assets. It could be sending an email or a WhatsApp message if you've got your WhatsApp business account connected. You can also send task reminders and notifications to your HubSpot users as well. And then you can then have a kind of trigger point to decide, right, this is when I want them to upgrade over to the next stage. So in this case, I have a 5-day delay to say, right, if this new contact has interacted with a specific ad within 5 days, I want them to move on to the next journey stage, which is mid-intent. And then if after 5 days they haven't interacted at all, I'm just going to mark them as unengaged, and then they can go somewhere else. So that's what happens within one card. And then basically the next stage would be the stage that we saw in here, over to mid-intent, and then it's basically the same format over and over again, and you kind of rinse and repeat until you get to the ideal stage you want. And then of course you can then use that for your lead qualification, your sales handover processes, and so on. With the journey stage fields as well, these are the default ones that they have currently. I think it's a bit blocked at the end, but to my knowledge this is editable as well, so you can update those options that you want. But hopefully that gives you an idea of how you can use journeys to build out like a more clear like user journey, and then notify the right people at the right time when a specific stage hits. But I'll stop there for now because yeah, I think it's one of those things where you just got to start using it and then get familiar with it and then play around with it, and then you'll kind of figure out your way. But it looks like it can be quite useful for specific campaigns that you're running, and you can use that alongside the actual campaigns tool as well for performance reporting.
Florinda, I think that's a really cool one, especially just to piece together the overall journey, because I have a lot of clients where they have multiple individual workflows and they're not quite sure. Some might affect others, or they're doing the same thing, or they're actually contradicting each other. So it's quite nice to have all of that in one place and almost build up a bird's eye view of everything that's going on.
Yeah, that's a good term for it, bird's eye view. Yeah.
Definitely. It's really cool. But no, thank you, Corinda. So I'm just going to go through some of the updates to the Breeze agents as well. So some of you may already be familiar and may already be using the existing Breeze agents. I'm not going to touch on these too much, but as you may know, HubSpot currently has 4 agents in place. So in Service Hub, you've got the customer agent, which essentially uses HubSpot's AI to answer users' questions based on your HubSpot content and also any public URLs that you feed the agent. So it's a bit like an AI live chat. So you can assign the agent to one of your channels, whether that be your live chat or even email now, and you can essentially ask it to respond to support questions with that contextual knowledge and in a conversational tone that you specify. So it allows your support team to sort of work on the more complex use cases and tasks, whereas the more simple ones are handled by the agent. In Content Hub, you've also then got the Content Agent, which is HubSpot's AI-driven solution to automate and simplify content creation. It can help you generate content from blogs, landing pages, email campaigns, and more. You can then, again, feed it your brand voice. So you can tell it the tone of voice that you use. You can feed it a sample piece of work that you've done to make sure that everything is in a consistent tone, particularly if you've got multiple members of the team creating content and you want to make sure ensure that you have a consistent brand voice across all of that. And it really just helps to ensure that each piece of content is hyper personalized, it's data backed, and optimized for maximum engagement. Some of you, I know a lot of people are using Marketing Hub. Some of you may have seen or come across the social media agent. Again, this is an AI-powered expert that enhances your social media strategy. So what this one does is it basically analyzes your social performance, it looks at your company details, and it takes into account marketing best practices to basically develop a multi-channel content strategy that helps to amplify your social presence. So it will suggest top performing posts. It will look at your top performing posts and it will suggest content based on that. And it will also put forward suggestions that you may not have considered. So that's a really cool one as well. And then most recently relaunched is the Prospecting Agent, which is part of Sales Hub. This is probably one of my favorites so far. And what this does is it basically researches contacts in your CRM, and it will actually execute a personalized outreach strategy for those prospects in your smart CRM. So it helps you to essentially just build a more qualified sales pipeline. You can either manually select contacts for enrollment, or you can actually then set up rule sets to automatically enroll contacts based on set criteria. So maybe it's their life cycle stage, maybe it is the industry that they're in. And you can also get it to research your target accounts and then generate emails based on that. So it really just helps you, again, save a lot of time when you're doing your outreach while still maintaining that sort of hyper personalization that you're going to need when you're doing your outreach. So some of you may be familiar with those, you may already be using those. But one of the new ones that was announced in HubSpot Spring Spotlight is actually the Knowledge Base AI agent. And this is an additional part of Service Hub. Again, it's currently in private beta, so you may just need to go in and request that from HubSpot in the product updates section. If you don't know where to find that, it's just in your account name in the top right corner. Click on that and go down to product updates and just search for Knowledge Base AI agent, and there should be an option to enroll from there. But this is a great example of multi-agent orchestration because it basically works with the customer agent that I just mentioned a second ago to essentially fill knowledge gaps and help more of your customers to self-serve. So what it looks at is any gaps that have been identified by that customer agent. Maybe you've had a high volume of tickets or incoming requests about a certain topic that you don't have content in your knowledge base for, and it will analyze that ticket data and it will actually automatically create comprehensive article drafts for your knowledge base. It's not 100% automated. Your team will still be able to review the draft before you actually go in and publish that article, so you can make changes. But then you'll basically go away or take that into account, your brand voice, etc., and then just publish that. So rather than spending hours creating knowledge base content, having to make sure that that's up to date as things change, you can actually just create that knowledge base content in minutes, really. Again, it allows you to sort of scale your customer support without the complexity. So as I said, you're not going to have to constantly go in and review and adjust. You don't have to juggle multiple tools. HubSpot will just do that for you. And again, it will just help to keep your entire knowledge ecosystem aligned by uniting those customer insights and support content in one seamless workflow. I think this is a really nice example of how you can actually combine the strengths of both agents, because obviously the knowledge base agent is going to help to improve the customer agent because you're giving it more content that it can then use
Yeah.
to serve customers in the future. But of course, then on the other hand, you've then got the customer agent helping to draw from this for future questions. So that collaboration actually creates quite a powerful feedback loop, I think, that is just going to continually improve your self-service capabilities. So quite an exciting one. If you are a Service Pro or enterprise user, definitely go in and request that private beta because I think it's going to be quite an exciting one.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of my favorite agents.
Definitely. I already love the customer agent, so I think this is just going to take that to the next level.
Yeah,
And some people also use it internally, so not just for external, but if they've got a team and they're just
that's a good
having
point.
loads, it's kind of like a resource.
Yeah,
And they,
internal support tickets.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. They can almost just use that to ask questions and then respond to them, so they've still got that control. So I
yeah,
think a pretty cool one.
nice.
If you do have any questions about any of the Breeze agents, though, we have actually created a free guide specifically to help you break down these agents and understand how you can implement them effectively within your business. You can download it on our website. It's in the resources section. It will break down what the Breeze agents are. It will go into specific use cases for each type of agent, which I think is quite powerful for
Yeah.
different businesses. It will actually go into the specifics, which teams can benefit most from each agent type, and then also how to get started. So if you are feeling a little bit lost or you're not quite sure what the first steps are to take, I'd definitely recommend just going onto our website and downloading that. But Clarinda, I know you have some good insights on the workspaces in HubSpot. So tell us a little bit about the new features in the sales workspace.
Sounds good. So I think most of you would also hopefully seen some of the workspaces already, but you've noticed if you noticed it like me, they've moved it in menu navigation again. So the sales workspace can now be found in sales. I'll also be talking about help desk and customer success, and you can now find them in the service section of the menu. But anyway, the sales workspace has been around for a while. It started off as the prospecting database, prospecting workspace, I think, and then now it's the sales workspace. But they've upgraded it even more. So now you get additional features. I'll just break down a couple of new ones. The first one is the deal intelligence, which is quite similar to the deal scoring, which you can see a picture of on the right side. Where the number 27 is as well. And then also in the dashboard on the top, you can see the action steps box. So it's a bunch of different things down there, but it basically uses AI to like look at your record data, engagement history, and tries to recommend next steps, risks, and some insights for you. And then they also have that deal scoring tool where they basically look at those same metrics and try to determine how likely you are to close that deal. So that can be quite useful. Quite a new one also is the AI meeting assistant. The AI meeting assistant, so it helps your sales reps prepare for meetings by generating contact and company insights with Breeze Copilot. And then after the meeting ends, the meeting assistant can also help the reps conduct follow-ups using the AI capabilities to generate meeting summaries and also craft sales emails. But one thing to note with the AI meeting assistant is you do need to have your HubSpot calling enabled if you are wanting to get those meeting notes from HubSpot, obviously. And of course, with the transcriptions do need to be enabled for there. For meetings, the only integration available that allows the meeting assistant to work properly at the moment is the Zoom integration. So unfortunately, if you use Google Meets or Teams at the moment, it might not work as well. But hopefully, I'm expecting because those are quite common ones, it will upgrade eventually. But your Zoom meetings must be integrated and installed. And of course, your recording and transcription must be enabled so that HubSpot can actually read the data to be able to help to produce that type of content for you. The third thing that you get with the new upgrade is the customizable interface. So you're probably quite familiar with the leads and then quite recently deals tab that have showed up in the workspace, but now they've also added a couple of new ones. So the target accounts tab, which for some reason was quite hidden for a little bit with the new menu navigation, but it's back again, and it's also now easy to find in the sales workspace. It might be in beta at the moment, so you might have to opt into it to look at it. Another new one that they've actually introduced, which isn't listed here, is the dashboards in the workspace. So you can actually the dashboards tool, the reporting tool in HubSpot, you can actually pick specific dashboards and have it show up in the sales workspace. So once again, the goal of having the sales reps only requiring to work in the sales workspace and nowhere else, it makes it even easier now because they can also see their reports from the sales workspace. Moving on to the next one, we have the help desk workspace, which is a solution to it was kind of a upgrade from the support inbox where you can basically have all your channels working together in one help desk and then basically all convert into tickets straight away, and it's easy to manage in a concise view like what you're seeing on the image on the slide. But they've also added some new features. One of the good ones is SLAs. This is quite a highly requested one, I think, because usually previously you could only do it based on like priority, I believe, but now you can set all sorts of different conditional logic and have specific SLA rules for different types of tickets. You also have advanced routing, so you can actually assign skills to different users in your portal, and if those tickets match the specific skill, it can then route the tickets to the relevant person. You've got team organization, so better access control and filtering, omni-channel support. So this is a cool one. So apart from the email form channels, calling channels as well, you actually have now advanced capabilities to include channels that aren't natively in HubSpot, as well as SMS. So for service SMS, just keep in mind that's probably just a US feature only, but you do have the ability to do custom channel APIs now, which allows you to basically connect any external one-to-one message app into a help desk, which can be really useful. So there should be some API documentation for that. It is an enterprise feature at the moment. And then you can also do US phone number porting as well, just FYI, in case you are from the US at the moment. You can also now migrate historical conversations with API. This is a beta feature. Finally, a last thing to note is you got AI ticket enrichment as well. So the ticket can be auto-populated using AI with the name, the summary, and then if you've got enterprise, you've got the language category and sentiment as well. And then one thing I also came across while doing some research on this is HubSpot also now has the ability to do recommended replies using AI. So you can actually select from your knowledge base articles, website, and blog posts, and then HubSpot will basically like automatically draft replies for you based on the information they have. So very much like what Katie just showed with the AI features previously, you can actually do that with automated reply. So it is still a manual send, but then it will like craft an email for you based on what they know. And so they all work hand in hand really, which is quite cool. Then moving on to the customer success workspace. This one is, I think, the most underutilized one at the moment. Very cool. It's really for your customer success teams and managers to have a one-stop shop for everything like the sales workspace. So they can manage the accounts they own, track engagement, and then they can do health scoring as well, which is quite cool. So with the health scoring, it actually works very similar to the Marketing Hub's lead scoring tool. So the user interface of building up the scoring is the same, but it's specifically for health scoring. So the types of things that you score against can be quite different. So for example, you might be scoring on NPS survey results. It could be last time they've engaged. It could be based on a ticket that they've closed, SLA time responses, and then that can indicate how healthy your customer is potentially. And you can get notified for those changes as well. You also have more flexibility on the types of records you see on the workspace. So previously, the kind of standard object, you would be able to see our company records, but now they've expanded it to context and custom objects as well, which is quite cool. So I imagine, for example, if you've got deals, you've got your companies, your contact records, but maybe you have a custom object called projects as well to manage projects from a closed deal, you can have that as your workspace primary object. They've also now introduced a couple of new tabs, as you can see, revenue to look at your deal records, services, which can use the object library service object or any other custom object as well, and then recommended actions, very similar to the sales workspace.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I think you can also now add dashboards to this one as well, similar to
I think
the
so, yeah.
space. So it really just helps to have everything in one place, which definitely makes your life easier rather than flicking between tabs. But no, that's great. Thanks, Corinda. So just before we finish, I just wanted to take you through a couple of small updates that have also been announced for Breeze Intelligence as part of the HubSpot Spring Spotlight. Corinda and I spoke a lot about Breeze Intelligence at our event last month, if you were able to attend that. But the first one I wanted to talk to you today about is smart properties. And this is really cool. It basically gives you the ability to ask a question or add in a prompt and have Breeze Intelligence AI to actually answer the question. So similar to a data enrichment tool. So maybe you want to know if a particular company has a podcast, are they remote only, are they a competitor? Or even just something simple like how many employees do they have, you can essentially set that up here in settings when you create the property. So you just give it a prompt, what would you like to know? So you could say, how many employees does this company have? And then you should indicate where the data should actually come from. So whether that is web research, is it something you've already got on your CRM, or another source that you may have integrated. So you can just select that in there, and then it will actually let you preview the results. So you can test it out with a few different records to make sure that that is accurate. So potentially, rather than you creating a workflow to fill this in with the Ask Breeze action, you can actually just do this when you set up your property. There's a few different options to set these smart properties up. You can either quickly add new properties within the company index page itself via the add column action, and then just go create new property and create it from there. You can also do it from data enrichment settings as well. So you can select there's going to be a new tab, smart properties, and you can create it from there, or just through the standard property creation flow as well. So that was the first one. The second one, which Clorinda touched upon as well with the help desk, is actually conversational enrichment. So you can enrich contact and sales data from email conversations that you're having using AI. So the email data is essentially automatically enriched, so you don't have to manually enter in details. So for example, it could actually detect when a contact is returning to the office from an out of office email, when they're leaving their job or when they're coming
That's cool.
into work. It can actually go in, fill that into your database, and then you can use it to set up a workflow or something like that to maybe give you a reminder or a task to reach out. So it just helps to ensure timely outreach and make sure that all teams are up to date as well with critical stakeholders. And this you can find in settings. It's underneath data management and then data enrichment. If you click on the tools tab, you'll see the screenshot that I've got here, which allows you to configure those enrichment settings. And then last one today, I know we're just about out of time, but I did just want to take you through research intent as well, which is a really exciting update as part of HubSpot's buyer intent tool. So it comes underneath Marketing Hub. And what this allows you to do is actually see who is ready to buy, not just based on who's visited your website, but who is potentially researching relevant topics before they've actually hit your website.
Nice.
Maybe accounts that are identifying topics like mobile payments or something that's aligned with what you sell. It will basically pop up in the research intent. You can create saved views similar to what you can do at the moment with intent in the buyer intent tool. So if you are familiar with that, it's the same sort of setup process. Again, it helps you to engage accounts early in their buying journeys, look at customers who might be shopping around, researching new solutions, and it just allows you to consolidate that into one sort of CRM native intent solution. So you've got one place to incorporate not only first party data, so visitor based, but also third party research based intent signals.
That's crazy powerful. You can catch them early
Yeah,
before they
really
get over
cool.
you.
Because I had a
Yeah.
lot of feedback from my clients saying it was the one thing that they were kind of missing. So they have
Yeah.
used, third-party tools like Sense or something similar and integrate it.
Yeah.
All part of HubSpot. It can do the whole lot. So you don't necessarily need those third-party tools anymore. So it's a really cool one. And that was everything today. We finished it just about on time, a couple of minutes over. If anybody does have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I think we have
There's the
one.
one
Uh,
from Sabina.
uh,
Quick question about deal score in the prospecting workspace. Can you customize the criteria to score a deal yet? I actually don't know. I'm so sure I saw the update at one point and then it disappeared. So I think they must have been doing some changes to it. But basically, with the deal scoring, it currently just goes off a set list of criteria where you can then determine the score for you. But there was a temporary update where it popped out and you can customize it and then it disappeared again. So the short answer is I don't know.
yes, hopefully soon. We've had another question as well on the prospecting agent. So currently there doesn't seem to be a way to change the amount of time between the emails at the moment. It's a 2-day delay. Is there a way to change this, or will this be available when it is fully released? Clorinda, do you know the answer to that one? Because I'm not sure off the top of my head. We may need to research that one and come back to you.
Oh, I actually don't know the answer to these either. Yeah, so we might have to check it for you and find out.
I would imagine so, because it is currently in beta, so they are, you know,
Yeah,
constantly updating.
yeah.
There is a way where you can now submit feedback on private betas.
Oh,
As
yes.
should be in the product update section. There should be a little button next to the update that says submit feedback. So it
Yeah.
might be worth adding that on there as well. Perfect. Have we had any others? Does the smart properties feature use Breeze credits? Yes, it does. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. So it is part of Breeze Intelligence. So each record that's enriched will use a credit.
There's also a question from Sophie. Can you use the lookalike data list for email campaigns? Yes, you can. It's basically turning it into a static list. So you can use it for campaigns, you can use it for workflows, you can use it for ads. So yes, definitely.
Brilliant. Amazing. I think that is everything for the questions. Just before we do finish as well, I just wanted to also let you know if you are interested in any of the features today and you want to see it in a little bit more detail, please feel free to get in contact with us. We are offering free HubSpot demos for any of those features, so personalized walkthroughs and guidance based on your specific business use cases. So if you are interested in that at all, please feel free to go onto our website and go ahead and book that now. We will also share an email afterwards with the link to where you can do that. But that is everything for today. So thank you everybody for joining and taking the time on the Monday morning. I know it's nice and
Yes.
sunny outside.
Yeah.
But I'm glad hopefully you all enjoyed this and yeah, thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.